Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion on the future of media. You might already know the trade desk for talking about this topic, and particularly the benefits of adopting an omnichannel approach. However, what exactly do we mean by this? Most brands on the planet are multi-channel advertisers. That is, that they have more than one channel on their media plan. However, very few of them are omnichannel advertisers, where we're connecting the channels with data to run a cohesive campaign across all of them, limiting frequency across all channels, sequential messages across them in a meaningful way, and ultimately creating an advertising strategy with the audience and their experience in mind. Today, we'll hear from Yasmine Turk, Digital Supply Lead at GroupM, and Joshua Mathias, Digital Media Director at Huawei, for an insightful discussion on how brands are navigating this changing landscape and what is to come in the future. Thank you both for joining me today. We'll dive straight in, and Yaz, I wanted to hear from you from like an agency perspective on how agencies are strategizing for effective marketing approaches in a rapidly changing landscape.
Thank you for having me here as well. So I think if we really look back at how agencies previously were operating, agility was really nice to have, but now it's become essential. And if we look at what we were doing previously in terms of static media plans or an always-on strategy, and now we're in a place where we need to have fluid frameworks in place that we can be as fast-paced and move and adjust and adapt to our audience behaviors, performance, to market trends even, or any external factors that are not within our control. And I think with agencies, really, what I think is such an exciting time to be in an agency, because you see so many cross-functional teams now working together, where previously, you had offline, data team, creative, all working in silos, where now, actually, no, we all come together. So you have the tech, data, programmatic, offline, the outdoor teams, the traditional teams, all coming together to really put together this cohesive, true omni-channel approach, a very customized approach for our clients. And we really encourage clients. I mean, there's so many emerging channels. When we're talking about omni-channel, there's just so many channels that, marketers are quite hesitant to get in. They're hesitant to test. And we really encourage that, especially with the advancements with attribution and measurement that we now have with these emerging channels. We look at programmatic digital out of home. It's taken, that traditional outdoor buys and how we can actually advance it with, the data-driven approach, data-driven planning, attribution models in place, measurement frameworks, and being able to, apologies guys, and really being able to adjust and test these new formats, these new channels, sorry. And to do so, we really have to take a step back. We really need to redefine how we look at media plans. I know we heard so much about it in the previous panel as well, but really kind of identifying what are our goals as a brand, what's the perception that we're trying to get through, and how we really want to actually reach those users. We heard about the typical media metrics, and yes, we do want to hit those media metrics, of course, but ultimately, what's the meaning behind it? What's the perception that we're trying to build within our brand? And looking at the consumer journey, like there's so many channels now, and how are we reaching people in a contextually relevant to actually drive the attention that's required? And then also, it brings in creativity as well. So you no longer have a standard media plan with the same targeting approach across all these different channels and the same creative messaging across all. No, it really drives that collaboration, but really attention to detail as to how we're actually customizing each of the channels, each of our creative messaging, each of our targeting approach, and how we're driving attribution across each and every one, and putting those frameworks in place.
Great. Yeah, I think we touched on nicely reaching users at all part of the purchase funnel and throughout the entire user journey. So keeping the audience front of mind then, Josh, this one's for you from more of a brand direct perspective. Many brands are adopting audience-first strategies, right? So to ensure that they're putting their customers first, How have you been able to navigate this from a brand direct perspective?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for the invite to the panel. I think that's a very, very good question, and I think it comes down to three things in general. One is basically consumer understanding. And I think we need to move beyond surface level consumer data like demographics and interest and really get down to behavior and intent. And in order to do that, we have to basically try to understand what the consumers are doing and how are they interacting with every touch point with your brand real estate. Which platform, where, when, how. And I think you can only get that through basically understanding and analyzing a lot of data, whether external or internal. And by understanding that, I think we can predict. And if we can predict and understand, I think we can serve better experiences to consumers via an omnichannel experience. I mean, talking about omnichannel, it's not about treating every platform and media in silos and thinking about every single one has, we need to do this. But if you put the consumer first, I think you will draft a better omnichannel experience to them and provide value through every interaction. Second thing is, of course, the customer experience. To give you an example is about, continuous, where most brands use retargeting as a very blunt instrument when it should be, treated with surgical precision. I think most of us has been exposed to a lot of retargeting, ads when we've just purchased a product. And that doesn't provide a good consumer experience when they keep bombarding you and also upselling and cross-selling when you just purchase something. And I think we need to understand is when a customer is purchased to suppress targeting them and whether they've added to cart or checked out, how to provide a better content to them in order to push them further down the funnel. I think that's, again, comes down to providing better value through each and every interaction. And last but not the least, it's, I think, consistency in our communications and, and consumer attention as well. Because I think when it comes to content, I think we need to be adapting to each and every platform, but at the same time, providing a cohesive brand experience, whether, providing, say, bite-sized, snackable content on TikTok, or, a long-form story experience on other platforms. And at the same time, doing that, again, giving them a similar brand experience and messaging throughout each omnichannel experience. For me, omnichannel is not about being present everywhere. It's about being meaningfully present and giving the customer a good experience, and at the same time, letting them know what kind of message are you trying to project, and at the same time, trying to get the action that you want from them.
Yeah, great. So it's about reaching the right user at the right time, I guess. So Yas, from a advanced digital out-of-home perspective or just overall digital supply perspective, you've of course run many omnichannel campaigns. What do you feel like the key success factors are here?
Well, we've run quite a few omnichannel campaigns, like you said. I mean, we've seen, especially with programmatic digital out-of-home or CTV as well, there's been so many advancements, so many new clients who are willing to test. One of our most recent ones and one of our favorite case studies that we have is actually with the Huawei one that recently ran. I'll shamelessly, get up here and talk about it because it is one of my favorite ones. But it was really showcasing how we could customize. Huawei, for example, run traditional outdoor quite often, and how could we really utilize the data-driven approach that we have with programmatic digital out-of-home to showcase the creative at very specific times. So we ran it in the airports when people were coming in from specific destinations at the arrivals. So they would see the ad as soon as they were coming into Dubai. And it was a very beautiful creative for one of the most innovative products that we have, the trifold handset device. And then we actually collected those mobile devices and retargeted users on mobile. And the results were phenomenal. I mean, you could really see from the mobile perspective or from the display, which we're quite active on, that the engagement rate was 2 times higher than when it was from previous campaigns without having that connection on digital out of home and reconnecting with users on a mobile device. So it's a very personalized approach. You're taking 2 very different channels. And you know, I know you said the right user at the right time. It's the right user at the right time and the right mindset, you know? So, and I think that that's just so essential. We want to be everywhere, but it only matters if consumers are actually being able to process. We can showcase our ads over and over and over again. And if you ask a consumer, me, myself as a consumer, taking myself out of the media agency or out of being in the marketing space, we only can see, or we only realize that we've seen specific ads when we're in the right mindset. So I think that that's essential, and this, you know, omni-channel approach is, that's the biggest takeaway. Like you can't see every channel the same, but essentially it is only about really being able to portray our message in the right time and when the user is actually receptive to actually seeing it.
Yeah, for sure. Great. It's been really insightful to hear from like an agency and brand perspective. So I'd love to round off the discussion with a future-gazing question, and Josh, it would be great to hear from you on this. We've discussed the opportunities in this ever-changing landscape, but what do you see as the next big challenge for marketers?
I think we are facing challenges every day, but I think, speaking through personal experience, I think it basically comes down to 2 things. One is the complexity paradox. I think every 6 months or so, I think we are basically exposed to new technology, rather AI or new MarTech stacks, and it kind of leads to two things or 2 behavioral patterns. One is that most brands tend to do endless amounts of analysis, and they're stuck in the kind of analysis paralysis kind of zone where they don't really try anything, and they're not first in market and trying to reach consumers in the right way. Second thing, that brands, once they see new things or a shiny new object come to the marketplace, they tend to jump on it as soon as possible, with the FOMO kind of attitude, and I think most brands have sometimes wasted millions that way. I think in the future we need to have some sort, as marketeers, I think we need to have some sort of discipline when it comes to, and balancing when it comes to, say, trend awareness, at the same time trying to understand how does this benefit my consumer-centric approach. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I think, marketeers in the future have to basically be part data scientist, part CFO whisperers, because none of us work in silos. We work with other departments, either in finance or procurement or senior decision makers, and and it's not about marketeers having the right decision all the time. It's about us convincing the right people, because you need to get everyone on board with the future, with the vision of marketing. And in order to do that, I think future marketeers needs to be discussing MarTech stacks in P&L terms as fluently as they discuss, say, brand building and creative storytelling with the agency. And I think that's very extremely important. So just to round off by saying that it needs discipline. Discipline not only in understanding the future trends, but knowing when to use them, and at the same time educating ourselves and educating internally as well, the new technologies on board, and try to get collective buy-in in order to achieve the vision that you want, while still keeping the consumer in mind.
Brilliant. Thank you so much both for joining us today. Our time is nearly up, so we're going to have to finish off here, but thanks guys, that's great.